butterfly as well. So anytime I have an overhook, this is a good time to do this. Because now this is the hardest thing to get to start your rubber guard sequence is the overhook. Once guys realize you want to play rubber guard, they don't want you to have this. So if I can grab this overhook from butterfly guard, this is my trigger that I can start going right into my rubber guard game, right? So if I get it from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fall towards my right. As I do, I'm pummeling this arm to the inside to control his arm, right? If I need to, I'll even grab his head. It just kind of depends. Like if he's leaning forward, I can just fall and push because he's gonna fall with me. If he's kind of pulling up, like he's trying to get his posture back, then I gotta hug his head, right? So it's just gonna be dependent on where his weight is distributed, right? So either way, I can make this happen. If he's posturing up, I'll just hang on his head though as I fall, right? And so as I fall, my leg comes out and I bring it up to his shoulder here. I'm coming to the inside to block this so my knee comes through, right? Once my knee comes through, I'm gonna put my foot on his hip, right? And we're here, getting to this spot. Now, when we play from full guard, we immediately hug the knee, but because I've already got a good overhook here, I'm just gonna stay here with this overhook this time, right? And I'm just gonna turn my knee to the ceiling and grab his wrist, right? And we're just gonna get to the pyramid here, right? So they call it pyramid because I'm making a triangle, bringing my heel to my knee, right? And we're controlling him this way, right? So we're just gonna play with this first, right? Soaring cocoon, right? As I fall, I'm coming to that inside space, or I'm grabbing the head depending on where he's posturing, right? And I'm coming right out. So you notice I did it all at once. So when you start, you'll do it in stages. You'll fall, you bring your leg up, you'll get your foot to the hip. Once you get good at it, it's all at the same time. So that when I land, I'm already here and I'm already grabbing and turning and getting to this spot, right? Right, so when it's live, it's getting to the spot, right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. We're gonna start the same way, right? So we're here, and I can have the underhook, or I can already have the collar tie. Like I play this both ways. So sometimes the underhook's hard to get on people, so I'll just get the collar tie, right? And then as I fall, I'll get to my position, and I get to here. When I first land and I'm here and I get my foot to the hip, put all your weight into this arm, right? If he's here, like I won't be able to pull his arm in, right? So that's why I push off his hip or off the mat and I turn my knee to the ceiling. And now it makes his hand light and I can pull this in, right? And so we're getting to here. When I get this, I gotta make sure I keep his elbow, right? So I wanna make sure I don't push away and flatten out to where his elbow pops through. Right? I'm still curled when I get to here, right? So the first thing we do when we get here is I pull hard and drive my shin into his bicep. Like he doesn't like this pressure. So his first instinct is to try to pull his arm back. When he does, I let him and we make this turn to the triangle, right? I throw my leg up over the top, I make this cut and I underhook his arm right here. If you can get the leg, that's awesome, but it's pretty far out there to reach. So I want to grab his arm. And when I get to here, I bring this way, like I'm going to arm bar him. And that lines me up for my triangle to make it really tight. I don't want to wrap it up right here. Like I can squeeze, look, like it takes a while. But if I make the turn, like I haven't even started squeezing yet. Right? It's someone once told me it's the triangle, not the try straight in front of you. Right? Yeah, it's really dumb, but it makes you remember you're supposed to cut the angle for your triangle. Right? So again, we're here, whether it's underhook or the head collar tie. I landed into my spot. I push the knee towards the ceiling to make his hand light, and then I pull that in. When I feel him pull back, I let it go. My leg circles. When I do this, I push into him with my knee, right? I'm not bringing it out because now I just made space. He's gonna shove that down. He's gonna pass my guard, right? So when I'm here and he pulls that arm back, I push my knee into the side of his neck. That allows me to get my foot outside and circle this. Now I catch his arm. Now I make that turn. And we have the triangle. Right? I don't even have to bring his arm across because I cut the angle. Right? I don't have to do all this stuff that you have to do when you're right in front of him because I cut the angle. Make sense? Yeah. So let's play with that first. 3, 2, 1. Right. So I get to my pyramid, he pulls the arm, right? I bring this through. So as I'm going for this triangle, the biggest thing in order to finish a triangle is keeping his posture broken, right? So I keep this overhook until I get the underhook, right? At this point, if you need to let go of this, it's okay once I have this, right? Because right here, posture up. Right? It's hard for him to posture while I have this. If I have this, posture up. He can't posture up. I'm not even using my legs right now. I add my legs, it makes it even worse. Right? So, so I'm just going from one control that's going to keep his posture broken to the other. I keep both of them when I lock it up, but you don't have to. You can let go of this at this point. But I gotta have this. If I don't have either one, posture up. Right? Like, it doesn't, I can keep this curled all I want, he's just gonna lift my hips off the mat. Alright, and then I lose the position, it's gonna be hard to finish. So, but once I get here, if I lock this, this isn't working, you wanna go for that straight arm, right? I come to here, I get this up next to my ear, I wanna roll his elbow towards the ceiling, and then I pull down for the break. Right? So, once I get to this spot and I catch this, if you're having issues where you're always landing on top of your foot, this is when you can grab your shin, you can put your foot on his hip, and you can cut this angle even more to make it easier to get to your ankle when you lock it up, right? So, turn this way a little bit, okay. Another thing with triangles, and I'm just gonna cross my ankles for this so I don't choke Alex out while we're going after this, right? Is right now we're coming under the arm to catch the angle, which is great. This will start to make it tight. If this isn't enough, the next step is under his leg to make it tighter. And if that's still not enough, then I go to the far leg, right? And I just have my ankles crossed, right? If I pull this in right now, right? I'm not even tight on this. It's just cutting that angle. Right? So you'll see people that get that triangle right in front and they're yanking on the people's head, doing all this stuff to try to finish. Like, cut your angle. Right? You cut the angle and it just tightens it all up for you. Right? It takes all of that space away, makes your triangle really tight, and you get your tap. Right? Cool. All right, so now we're going to move on. So this time, we've got the same start. We're getting to that pyramid again, right? So I get here, I pull this, I turn this up. He's like, no, I understand what's about to happen here. If I pull my arm out, that leaves one arm in, one arm out, that puts me in a triangle. I'm not going there. So instead he hugs my leg and he drives into this to bring it back down because he wants to try to come over the top and pass this leg, right? So as soon as he hugs and he drives this down, my hand is coming back in underneath his neck and pushing on his shoulder right here. All I need is a little bit of space. The more flexibility you have, the less the space is that you're gonna need, right? I'm gonna take my overhook out, I'm gonna grab my shin, and I'm just gonna pass my foot over the top. It lands right on my forearm, right? So this hand pushes, and then if he tries the posture right now, I catch him with that hand. So this hand has to stay here, right? It's not dropping out as I come around because now he can posture up, right? And then now he's gonna work his way back around, right? So once I get to my pyramid, he hugs and he drives in. My hand comes in, I push the shoulder just to get that little bit of space. See how his head goes away from me? If he's here, it's hard to clear his head. If I push him just a little bit, now it's easy to clear his head. And we land right here. Right? My foot is over my arm. It's not in here. Right? That's super important for what comes next. Right? Because when I go to finish this choke and I get connection here, I'm gonna straighten my leg to finish the choke. If my arm is in the way, I'm blocking myself from finishing the choke. So my hand has to be here. When I connect my hands, initially they're gonna be up high. But then I'm gonna pull them to where my knuckles line up right under the corner of his jaw and dig right into that soft spot, right? Up here, like, I'll get the tap. Down here, how much worse is that? Right? Like, this is annoying and you'll tap. This you cannot fight through. It's right on the soft spot of your neck, driving into your trachea and everything. They're gonna tap, right? So once I get here, he might try to reach up and grab my foot that's around. So if that's the case, I just come over the top and I triangle my legs and then I finish. Right? So, Nick, let me do it to you so we can see. Right, so we're here, we're falling, we're getting to that pyramid, I pull this in. This time he drives in, right? He's like, nope, I'm not getting triangled today. Right, so I'm just coming here right to his shoulder. All I'm gonna do is pull this out, grab my leg, push, clear. And I'm landing right like this, right? If you can't make this clearance, you're gonna have to work on your flexibility a little bit, right? This one requires a little bit of flexibility. But now I'm coming in either around my knee or over the top of it. It doesn't matter. This is a little bit tighter if you can hit it. Now I move my hands down to the corner of his jaw, and now I straighten for the finish. Right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. My spot here when I'm trying to clear is if my knee's pointed up at the ceiling, right, then it's a lot of hip rotation flexibility. But if I turn and I point my knee this way, now all I gotta do is straighten my leg and clear his head. Right? So I can just change the angle a little bit and now it's a different part of my hip. Boogie talks about this a lot because he likes to go flying kung fu, so he'll land here and he'll just circle catch and go right into his attacks, right? But the way he does it is he brings this knee up high, driving it this way, and then he just extends and brings it over, right? So, so that's the thing. So if you're having issues going this way, then turn your knee this way, and then it'll be easier to clear too, right? Cool. Any other questions on the go-go clinch? No? All right. Next option.
Real quick, the choke mechanics on it.
Yes.
So I think I was struggling with that.
Yep.
So
yeah, so when I bring that and I drop it here, right, I come around and I get my S grip. From here, I'm crunching in, punching my hands down to where my knuckles go right into that space, right?
Okay.
Once I get there, I'm pushing with this leg, just like I'm throwing a side kick.
Okay.
Right? So if that's not enough, then I triangle and I push with both legs.
Got it.
All right? All right, so this time I get to here, I pull this. He doesn't pull back, he doesn't drop down, right? He just kind of hangs out here and he might even start driving back into me, right? This way, but he's not trying to pull his arm out so I can't go to that triangle, right? So we're in this situation. So when he does this, I have a couple of choices that I can play with. Usually when he does this, he's trying to get this elbow back over my knee. He wants to get back to that inside space, right? Which is fine. I don't care if he goes there at this point. So as he drives and brings that elbow over, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna dive my arm under his leg, right? And I'm cutting this angle. What I'm gonna hit is what we call a flower sweep. I've already got this overhook, so I have his post trapped. So I'm taking my legs and I'm throwing them to this corner to come on top, all right? So again, we get here, he drives in, brings his elbow back over, and he's coming back into this. Now I dive under his leg, right? I throw my legs this way. My left one first, and then I kick with my right. This one makes a circle. And I come on top. All right? I'll just kind of do it to you so you can see it. Alright, so we get here, he drives into me, brings his elbow back over the top. Alright, he's like, I got out of the rubber guard. I'm like, cool. So I dive right under his leg. From here, this one makes the circle, and I kick him over, and we come to the mount. Right?
When you kick, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to be super left like that. The one that you're swinging around.
The one I'm swinging gives me momentum.
Okay.
Right? It helps me catch my angle so that then I can drive this into his shoulder and come on top.
Okay.
Right? So depending on how big the opponent is, depends on how much of a whip I've got to do to create the sweep. So full bar. Right? I got this overhook, I make this turn. If I try to just push him at the hips, he can just simply slide his right leg, he can slide that knee out and stop the sweep. Right? If I just push, now there's no sweep. Right? But if I push him in the armpit, the sweep's always there. Right? So, you know, so it's that same thing of like going all fours for me, right? If you think of him like a table and I want to sweep him, right? I took this arm away. So the way I push him to sweep him is towards that, right? So that means I have to push him here to make that happen.
So are both legs going to the armpits or no?
So
Is that like
the other one's coming down to the leg, right? So it's swinging and coming through. So, because ideally, if I can block that leg with that leg too, even if I miss my push on the shoulder, I still get the sweep.
Okay.
Right? So that's the thing with the flower sweep is I'm trying to block both of these, but I aim for this corner in case this isn't strong enough to stop him from sliding his leg out.
Can you do it once more?
Mm-hmm.
And you do want to aim lower towards the knee if you can on that one.
Right, so once I dive under and I get here, I make this turn. Right? It's that turn that already starts to off balance him. Right? So all I'm doing is I'm pulling this foot, I think about trying to bring it to his armpit. And that loads him up, right? So the other part of this is when you get here, right, and I get to my pyramid and I turn him and he fights to get that arm back over the top. Right now is when I want to hit that. He's already leaning that way.
It's less effort for you.
Less effort. Why let him set up his base and then try to sweep? Right? He's already moving that direction. I know, once I get him to that spot, he only has a few choices that he can make of what he's going to do. I know where he's going to go. So if he makes that, I see his head come back towards me. As soon as I see that, I can dive under the leg and use his own momentum to make the sweep easier. Right? So when we get to that pyramid, and I get here, and he fights that arm back over, right? I'm already seeing his head go that way. Look where my leg is. It's already in place. It's real easy now to sweep him. Does that make sense?